redefined from what is more commonly called being a liberal Democrat?
I think that's what he was trying to do. He kind of cloaked himself in FDR and said, Social Security is democratic socialism. The minimum wage is democratic socialism. Collective bargaining is democratic socialism. He was sort of trying to position it as maybe it's a scary term, but it's actually all the things that we take for granted and are good for this country. That's what he was trying to do there.
Richard in Leonia, is that where you are?
Leonardo.
Oh, Leonardo, New Jersey. Hi.
Love this show. Thank you so much. I love what you said, your guest. I mean, that was perfect. And it's about Bernie Sanders' speech, and I'm following everything as well as I can. I think that the thing about him that's so important is, this disconnect between where we are and where we've been it needs to constantly be rethreaded. We've got this shelf life of like 5 minutes, and you get these quick little blips of noise, and everybody follows it. And that's the thing that Sanders did for me so well yesterday. I think he did a great job of bringing that back. Saying, you can't just reach for the same old tools.
So, Richard, he's got a whole career of resisting being in the Democratic Party because he felt he needed to be something different, stronger on these issues that he calls, democratic socialism. And so he's been an independent in Congress, not a Democrat. Did you get the difference between democratic socialism and what any other liberal Democrat on the Senate floor might actually believe in? Richard?
I don't see a great difference, no, and maybe that's why I'm saying I think this is a good thing because he is coming. The general brand of him it seems like he's something from the far left, and at least he seems to be closing that gap up.
All right, thank you very much. Which would make this speech seem more like an act of defense than offense.
To me, this speech felt like Barack Obama's speech in 2008 about race in Philadelphia. Remember all the criticism about the Reverend Wright comments, and he finally gave a big, formal, sweeping speech that convinced people that he is not a radical, that he is electable, put to rest a lot of those concerns. To me, this was sort of Bernie's moment to take the central crisis of his campaign, which people caricaturing him as a communist, to really take that and say that it's not that different than what you've heard from, as you say, other liberals.
So
Except I feel like it wasn't.
I
agree that was the most. I just don't think it was as memorable as Obama's race. Well, there's only there. Obama is a unique individual. I think it's like Us magazine. It's like socialists. They're just like us. That was his message.
Danny and Rock and Kathy are on WNYC. Hi, Danny.
Yeah, hi. I think the bigger issue is for him to differentiate himself between communism and socialism. Democratic socialism is basically the best of both. It's a mixed economy, a blend of socialism. Obviously, you mentioned Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and business. He's never saying business is dirty. It's not like in the New Testament, the line, a rich man has as much chance to go into heaven as a camel has to go to the eye of a needle. We're saying take the best of both, and the countries that call themselves democratic socialists are Britain, Israel, France, Norway, all the Scandinavian countries, and for him to differentiate himself from the communists, and basically he isn't that much different from a liberal Democrat. I alternate between calling myself a liberal Democrat and a democratic socialist. Why can't he articulate that position clearly and then give the examples?
Danny, thank you very much. And I think we will leave Danny's question as rhetorical and leave the segment here. By the way, I refer you to our Twitter feed where, depending on who's tweeting, people are convinced that we are absolutely in the tank for Hillary Clinton or absolutely in the tank for Bernie Sanders.
Good. Balance.
So it's kind of entertaining in that respect. But the political campaign A-team, Annie Carney from Politico, Amy Chozick from the New York Times. Thanks for coming on and helping to break down the two big speeches in the Democratic primary campaign yesterday.
Thanks for having me.
Brian Lehrer on WNYC. Coming up next, WNYC's Cindy Rodriguez with a great story she reported this week on how to fight mass incarceration by fighting recidivism. The city studied 800 people who keep going back and back and back to prison. We'll see what they learned. Stay with us.
see all the victims of terrorism, they're not seeking for vengeance. It's something that links us as victims of terrorism, because vengeance just destroys you. Hate just destroys you, and you want to live. And the only way to live is to be different than them.
Hear the news from the people who are living it, and analysis from reporters you trust. Listen to Morning Edition every day on WNYC.
WNYC support comes from Binghamton University, helping to cultivate future scientists and scholars by providing students with research opportunities from the moment they arrive on campus. More at binghamton.edu. Carnegie Hall presenting singer-songwriter Duncan Sheik on Saturday, November 21st at 10 p.m., performing songs from his Tony-winning musical Spring Awakening and his new album, Legerdemain. Tickets and information at carnegiehall.org. The Jerome L. Green Foundation, helping to keep the arts affordable and accessible for audiences across New York City.
And today on the Leonard Lopate Show, find out how foods like bread and chocolate are becoming endangered. Plus, Matthew Broderick, Annalie Ashford, and Julie White talk about starring in the new Broadway production of Sylvia. That's today at noon on WNYC. On WNYC, if we want to end mass incarceration in this country, one issue that needs to be tackled is recidivism, the return to jail by people who have previously served their time. WNYC Urban Affairs reporter Cindy Rodriguez this week looked into New York City's biggest recidivists to put them in social context and criminal justice system context in a piece called The Frequent Flyers of Rikers Island. Here's one of the people she interviewed at the Fortune Society on why his heroin addiction actually led him to want to go back to prison and get the maximum sentence he could.
I had like so much hate towards my mom because she wasn't never there. We only had a father. He was drunk all the time.
Sorry, that was the wrong clip. We will hear that interviewee later. Now, the man who wants to go back to prison and get the maximum sentence he can.
Every time I went to jail, like I always wanted to max out. I didn't want to come out with nothing because I knew the lifestyle that I was living, that I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it. You know, like as far as being on probation, I wasn't going to do it. So I had just wanted to max out. You know, my drug choice was heroin, and I was on it really, really bad.